Welcome to the Real World. This is your host Almas Haider Naqvi. Trump-Putin summit appears to be the most important event for international politics. Though there was no official agenda for the summit, both leaders discussed international security, stability, and regional crises. Russian interference in US elections, terrorism, and transnational crimes, economy, environmental risks were also on the table. Despite the smiles and undue optimism, the sky behind them in Finland was grey with storms. To discuss outcomes of the summit and its impact for the real world, today we have with us Mr. Faisal Raza Khan. He is a senior journalist and geopolitical analyst. Mr. Faisal, how you categorize pros and cons of the summit?
I think so. It was an historic moment for not only for the world, but also for the NATO alliance, along with most of the countries were looking into this meeting because with optimism. Even within the United States, there was a strong feeling that Mr. Trump is going to raise particularly the issue of Russian meddling into the 2016 elections. And that was a bit really a desire for the United States citizens particularly, and the people in the opposition party as well, the Democrats, because Trump was really criticized after this meeting. Although this was the United States version, that they need to have some sort of, at the state level, some satisfaction from Mr. Putin that whether he meddled the election or not. They got the answer even from their president, which was not very satisfactory. That's why he is under fire. But the situation is that that meeting was felt very optimistic, but it was not gone much optimistic. Although Mr. Putin has raised some of the important issues which the world today are facing, like terrorism, like transnational crimes, as you rightly mentioned, the environmental issues, the climate change. These are the particular issues which the world is facing. He has through the prism of refugees influx, particularly the European Union, Lebanon, Turkey, and even Syria is facing right now. He has even coined the term that he wants a peace and reconciliation in Syria. But unfortunately, Mr. Trump was more focused on his own agenda rather than to be the agenda of United States as a president.
Mr. Faisal, don't you think we are placing undue optimism? Because there was no official communique, no official statement after the summit. Don't you think that off the cuff diplomacy really work?
You know that it's very right that it was without any agenda. It was there was no communique, there was no nothing else. But the transcript is there of the meeting, and afterwards the presser, they have faced the media as well, and they have answered questions. But the situation is that you know that the United States is very relevant, still very relevant. It is not. We cannot say that it's right now. It's a multipolar world. Although they're trying their hard. The China rise of China and the Russian insertion. They're trying hard to have some sort of multipolar world, and whatever the situation within Europe as well, they are asserting as well. This is no more a unipolar world, but right now, United States has a president who is rather. He has to represent the citizens of that country, the United States policies. But unfortunately, Mr. Trump is Trump. It was Trump in Helsinki rather than to be the president of the United States. And he is facing criticism just because of that. And you have mentioned that whether optimism would be there or not. I think so that the optimism must have to be there, because you know that there are a lot more issues in between United States and Russia. There are issues between Russia and European Union. Now there are issues between United States and European Union as well. So when a meeting is there in the European Union region, And a meeting between President Trump and Mr. President Putin, it means that it has an importance. So it is clearly a sign of relief for those who want stability and peace in the world. But at least two presidents met, and there is a signal which was given very loudly that there is a need of having engagement and the diplomatic engagement between the two countries.
Mr. Faisal, what do you think the fact that the Trump took Putin's side against his own intelligence community?
Yeah, he has praised the intelligence community early on, but unfortunately, it is in the context of United States. It was a very bad thing at the part of President, really, because he was too much apologetic in that meeting, and I was really amazed that Mr. Putin was asserting each and everything, and he has totally denied the meddling into the presidential elections in 2016 in United States. Rather questioning the Putin by the Trump, Mr. Trump said that Mr. Putin was very powerful in his denial. So it was really amazing that he was rather inquiring something on meddling of 2016 elections. He has given a full level playing field to Mr. Putin, in which he has kicked the football into the Trump's goal, and he was successful in that because he was mentioning Hillary Clinton's 33,000 emails rather than he was talking about where is the server. He was talking about time and again about the server rather than he was talking about some sort of mystery guy, Mr. Imran Aval, and he was talking about something like that. He was talking about, rather than the meddling of Russians, he was talking some internal affairs of United States into that. So it was really a diplomatic defeat for Mr. Trump. So it was really embarrassing for United States. I say sorry to the United States.
You already
really
pointed out that since then the summit, President Trump is under fire. Don't you think relations with Russia is a costly business for Trump?
I think so. It is. It is right now in the pretext what the U.S. Intelligence community, what their bureaucratic establishment right now and the military is thinking. Mr. Trump is not representing the United States right now. And the situation, there are a lot more issues in between Russia and the United States, like when the U.S. Justice Department has indicted 12 of the Russians' intelligence officers just days before the meeting, and Russia has the very strong stance. Like Putin has mentioned that there is the issues with the United States, and he has particularly mentioned Bill Browder, the businessman who is having the Russian partner. He has done the business in Russia. He has alleged, Mr. Bill, that he has transferred $400 million to United States for to campaign Hillary Clinton and all that. And he mentioned, the president of Russia mentioned clearly that it was illegal money, but it was laundered illegally into the United States, away from the banking channels, and that's why he has sentenced for 9 years in jail in absentia.
Yes,
so he has.
Mr. Faisal, I would like to know to what extent Russia has gained out of this summit. Lavrov said that better than the super.
Yeah, definitely. And when Mr. Trump has tweeted that it was United States who was foolish and stupid for the years that why they have not relations with Russia, and the Russian Foreign Office have stayed away, just given the six, 7 words, and they said, we agree. It means that it was a defeat on the Trump's part, but it was a success on Putin's part.
Mr. Faisal, do you think this summit would help to end new Cold War between the two great powers?
I think so. It is. I'm much optimistic in that because Trump has given the signal, and the Putin was very much serious in that. And when they have mentioned overall, For me, it was a bit disturbing that when they have mentioned nuclear non-proliferation, they have mentioned North Korea, even Putin praised Trump, then they have mentioned transnational crimes and environmental issues, but environmental issues was not the concern of Trump, but Putin's concern. Then there was the radical Islamic terrorism, which was mentioned by Trump only, not the Putin. It means that
and even Faisal, during the press conference, there was no mention by either president. Kashmir issue, Palestine issue, and Afghanistan. They
you're absolutely
terrorism, but not mention the Kashmir, Afghanistan, and Palestine.
Definitely. You're absolutely right. When we go into the details, that they have not mentioned Georgia, they have not mentioned shooting of Malaysian plane by the Russians. They have very little. They have mentioned Crimea, and that was mentioned by Putin. Ukraine, they have not much mentioned. Even the election meddling was not the issue of Mr. Trump, although it was very much related to him. Afghanistan, Kashmir, Nagorno-Karabakh, and the Rohingya issue, along with Palestine issue, that was not mentioned. Even Trump has mentioned to secure Israel rather than he has to talk about Palestine. It was ridiculous, really.
The only agreement appears after this summit, the security of Israel.
Definitely.
Mr. Faisal, I would like to know, President Trump referred a Pakistani mystery guy.
Yeah, of course.
Who was the mystery guy?
Mystery guy, it was basically a term coined by Mr. Trump. He is very much in master of coining the terms, and he is master of throwing the conspiracy theories. The mystery guy theory was that Mr. Imran Awan, who was the technical man advisor into the Congress, and of course he was basically serving a representative, Debbie Wasserman from Florida, and he was responsible for information technology and all that. And Mr. Trump has alleged him, the Pakistani guy who is of Pakistani origin and he is the citizen of the United States. He alleged that he was the man behind when he said, "Where server gone?" The server was basically in which 33,000 of the emails of Hillary Clinton, and he was mentioning that particularly, and behind that he think that Mr. Imran Awan, the Pakistani guy, was behind that. Although Mr. Imran Awan, when this case gone into the court, he was allegations were not proved, but he was arrested because of he has applied for a bank loan, and a misstatement, because of the misstatement he was arrested over there.
Mr. Faisal, another reference appears Pakistan in the press conference. President Putin thrown Pakistani made bold towards Trump. What does it mean for Pakistan?
You know that it was an interesting thing. Although Pakistan is not the part of NATO, Pakistan is not the part of that discussion, but the Pakistani-made football, Telstar 8 was the part of that whole summit, and he has thrown the football and said, Mr. Trump, look, this is the football and it is in your court right now. It was basically a diplomatic term in which he said that now the ball is in your court and you have to decide the future of relations between Russia and United States. Although it was a pride for Pakistan that Pakistani football was not presented there in Moscow and Russia during the World Cup, but also this FIFA Telstar 8 was also there in the Putin-Trump summit, and this football really, Pakistan is giving the world 40 to 60 million footballs a year.
Thank you very much, Mr. Faisal. No written agreement appeared after the summit. Trump's comments sparked the political backlash at home. That certainly put the question on the credibility of summit. But such interaction would lead mending fences between the great powers. This is all from the real world. Keep watching dbtv.live. Take care.